Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
Been talking a little bit about the Platinum Jubilee, but wanted to play some clips. Some people in the chat were very anxious about us talking about the hologram of Queen Elizabeth II.
The hologram.
The hologram. So, over the weekend, obviously, they had the Platinum Jubilee. There wasn't a lot of terribly interesting things. A lot of people booed Boris was a big headline, even though you watch the clip and you're like, that's kind of, I mean, maybe some people are booing, but there's some cheers in there too. I don't know why it's a headline that people booed him. Nonsensical stuff, but you know what? People care about the hologram. Here's the video of just a really elaborate chariot, gold with like gods chiseled.
Cherubim.
Is that cherubim? I don't know.
Yeah.
They're like buff. I don't know. They look like cherubim.
It's like the Ark of the Covenant, you know.
Sure.
They put the angels.
And in the back, you can see as it rolls by the queen, the young queen, actually, a young queen with dark hair. You can see it as a hologram. Now, there's a lot of mainstream media outlets that played the clip of this chariot rolling by, but you don't really get the reaction of the people. So I actually found a couple videos that have people reaction. It's kind of like boots on the ground, people just walking around and videotaping from their phone. Videotaping, what am I, from the 80s? So here's just a 20-second clip, just so you get an idea of what people, the reaction of the people on the ground. So the horses are walking, the chariot's going by. There's the hologram. Oh, so cute. And here's another one. Another angle.
Did they switch it up?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It's a hologram.
Love it. They love the hologram.
It's a hologram. They're like, oh, whoa, wow, so amazing.
It's the memory. They're looking at a living memory of the young one. The young one. Did they take this hologram from the crown? Or is this, where did they get this? Did they create it out of nothing?
I don't know. But, I did find some stuff from 2004, I think, was the first year that Queen Elizabeth was actually fully scanned, like at least a facial scan, to create a 3D model. Yeah, so it's, the Queen's been digitized for a long time.
Did they do this hologram because she bailed? She was citing discomfort. She had discomfort and didn't want to ride in her own carriage.
That could be part of it, but maybe they
this certainly does. This doesn't do anything for the conspiracy theories that she's,
that she's dead.
That she's dead, and they keep propping up a cardboard cutout or something.
Well, if there is any era that can pull it off, it's now. They got all the technology, all the bells and whistles to do it. So I would not be surprised whatsoever if she has passed on. And part of the sort of I guess the speculation, I guess you can say, as to why they would keep propping her up if she had in fact passed away or she's not healthy enough to rule or whatever, is I think a little bit more interesting than people might lead on, because who's set to replace her? Is it Charles gonna
Charles?
Okay. Yeah. Is he? I mean, he's not going to be there for long, is he? Or is he? Do you think he's?
Be there? He's an old man
guy,
too,
right? Yeah. So even if he gets it, it's like, all right, But
how old is Charles? He's got to be like 70 years old or something.
Older than that.
I'll figure it out. No, because the Queen is 90 something.
Queen's 90. Yeah. But I think whoever they're really looking to replace the Queen, they may be trying to create some kind of another world leader type of situation. And I say that because, the Queen is very important to people. There's I found a couple videos of the Queen cutting cakes with these huge knives just for fun. I'm not going to play the video. I have screenshots up for anybody watching. But yeah, I guess it's a thing to cut these cakes with humongous knives. But the big thing here that I want to get into is the Queen. She made her appearance on the balcony, and here's how it sounded. For those of you watching, you will notice the color of the Royal Highness's garb.
Opening the doors. Okay. I think there she is.
Yay! Very green, like a green. Everyone's cheering, yay.
Oh, that is green.
Super green, right?
Wonderful for the Queen. I know she'll have wanted to have been here, but she's undergoing some agonizing, tedious problems with her feet and her capacity to walk around, and it has been a worry, but she's here. 70 years, sovereign of the United Kingdom, 14 other nations, and the Commonwealth, head of the Commonwealth.
All right, so there she is. She's standing up there. She waves. They do the
full
UK
on
national
green
anthem.
Green screen green.
Yeah.
She did this one other time. Do you remember? She recently wore this color green again, and people were suggesting perhaps it's so people could, green screen her to wear whatever she wants or whatever they want her to.
Yeah, or it's a reference to something a lot more nefarious.
Hermit?
Yeah, so I'm going to go to the Hermetic library here, hermetic.com.
Oh, okay.
And there's a document that was written by good old Aleister Crowley.
Oh,
and
good.
it's titled Absinthe, the Green Goddess.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, and, it talks about the Green Goddess here in different forums. I'll read a little quote. The Old Absinthe House is not a place. It is not bound by four walls. It is headquarters for an army of philosophies. From this dim corner, let me range, wafting thought through every air, salient against every problem of mankind, for it will always return like Noah's dove to his ark. This strange little sanctuary of the Green Goddess, which has been set down not upon Ararat, but by the banks of the Father of Waters. Ah, the Green Goddess, what is the fascination that makes her so adorable and so terrible? Do you know? And then he talks about, he quotes the French sonnet, Le Légende de l'Absinthe. And later it says here, the word is from the Greek absinthion. It means undrinkable, or according to some authorities, undelightful. In either case, strange paradox? No. For the wormwood drought itself were bitter beyond human endurance and must be aromatized and mellowed with other herbs.
Yeah.
So
he is talking about absinthe, the tincture,
yes,
the drink.
Yes, the main ingredient there is wormwood.
Yes.
And that is very interesting. In Revelation 8:11, the first four trumpets. The third angel sounded his trumpet. The great star burning like a torch fell from heaven and landed on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is wormwood. So a third of the water went bitter, and many people died from the bitter waters. So very interesting. Like absinthe. Now, absinthe also is, it's also described as a... not just a spirit, but includes flowers and leaves from the herb Artemisia absinthium. And that's another reference, but commonly referred to as grand wormwood. And that's interesting because Artemis, the god Artemis in Greek mythology, is associated with the green fairy here in Absinthe. And that's interesting as well because... in Acts 19:27,
Yeah, for those who don't know or haven't heard, absinthe is more than just like an alcohol. It's also a bit of a psychedelic.
Yeah.
And a hallucinogen, and was a favorite of artists and occultists and authors and stuff. It's a bit of an old school thing, but who was
Jack
it? I believe
the
it was. Was he an absinthe
I
head?
think he was an absinthe guy, or at least in the movie. I can't remember the name of the movie. I think it's called.
I believe
From Hell.
I believe Aldous Huxley was a big fan too.
Probably, yeah.
That whole crowd was a big fan.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. The whole we're going to take over the world crowd was really into.
Yeah, and in case you might be thinking Aleister Crowley might simply just be talking about a delicious beverage, you know that's not the case. Esoteric occultists, that's kind of the whole point, is you use one thing to talk about another, and the sort of magical properties of absinthe was, of course, almost like a sacrament,
right?
Depending on your occult schools.
So absinthe traditionally has a natural green color but can also be colorless. It is commonly referred to in historical literature as La Fée Ferte, the green fairy. Oh. And so in Acts 19:27, it mentions the great goddess Artemis as part of the riots in Ephesus. And so, it's very much in Paul's day. The goddess worship of Artemis / Hecate, another name for Artemis, was common. And so there's this connection all the way from, the queen wearing green to this goddess Hecate. And Hecate, have you heard of Hecate, Basil?
No.
She's a goddess in ancient Greek religion and mythology, most often shown holding a pair of torches, a key, snakes, or accompanied by dogs, and in later periods depicted in triple form. She is variously associated with crossroads, entranceways, night, light, magic, witchcraft, the moon, knowledge of herbs and poisonous plants, graves, ghosts, necromancy, and sorcery. She's sort of the portal goddess. She's in between the realms. It says it here. Right. Let's see. Where's that spot where I talked about that? I had a thing highlighted. Oh, here we go. Hecate was associated with borders, city walls, doorways, crossroads, and by extension with realms outside or beyond the world of the living. She appears to have been particularly associated with being between, and hence is frequently characterized as a liminal goddess. Hecate
they
mediated,
that stand in the doorway type of thing.
Right.
That's another big occult theme.
Hecate mediated between regimes, Olympian and Titan, but also between mortal and divine spheres. This liminal role is reflected in a number of her cult titles. There's Apotropia, that turns away, protects. There's Enodia on the way, before the gate, holding the key. So there's all these references. And again, it's very much part of, the underworld, the goddess of the underworld, the goddess of witchcraft, goddess of the moon. So, look, I'm not saying there's anything directly tied to all this, but it's very interesting that Hecate happened to be one of the goddesses that was not sent to Tartarus by Zeus in mythology, Greek mythology. And
so she's still on the loose.
She's still on the loose. And according to 2 Peter 2:4, if God did not spare the angels, having sinned, but having cast them down to Tartarus, and chains of gloomy darkness delivered them, being kept for judgment. We know that Tartarus is a place, often translated to hell in the English language. There's multiple words that have been translated to hell in English. So if you actually do a study, it's very fascinating because biblically they're speaking about different locations.
We think of hell as just hell,
just one
thing,
place,
but there seems to be several different realms that
depict it. So so this Hecate, according to the Hesiod, Theogony 404, Hecate, whom Zeus, the son of Kronos, honored above all, he gave her splendid gifts to have a share of the earth and the unfruitful sea. She received honor also in starry heaven, and is honored exceedingly by the deathless gods. For as many as were born of Gaia and Uranus, or Uranus, heaven, the Titans, amongst all these she has her due portion. The son of Kronos, Zeus, did her no wrong, nor took anything away of all that was her portion among the former Titan gods. But she holds, as the division was at the first from the beginning, privilege both in earth and in heaven and in sea. Also, because she is an only child, the goddess receives not less honor, but much more still, for Zeus honors her. So, I'm not saying there's a direct connection, Basil, but if you go down this rabbit trail, it is just very strange to have the queen come out in super, super green, like green screen green outfit.
It is ludicrous. It is a ludicrous color to dress anybody in for a public appearance.
If there wasn't some kind of occult signaling going on here, with a big connection with not just the color green, but with absinthe and wormwood and Revelation and the goddesses in the Old Testament and the New Testament too. And while Paul was preaching, man, it just seems, again, to me, it just leads me to think whether the queen is alive or not. I think they're thinking about the replacement. They're setting more of the tone of what this position entails into the future. And very interesting.
it wouldn't be that strange either to be sort of placing her in some sort of that some sort of process of apotheosis wouldn't be starting now.
Yeah,
Now in the U.S.
right.
In the U.S. we have the dome of the Capitol building.
Capitol Dome, yeah.
The Capitol Dome.
Yeah, the viewing.
With the lying in state.
Lying in state, yes.
When a politician, or it's not all of them, it's just specifically very special people, when they die, they lie in state, which means they put the body under the Capitol Dome.
Where George Washington is painted as ascending to godhood. It's called the Apotheosis of George Washington. Right.
The mural is called the Apotheosis of George Washington and literally depicts George Washington taking his seat on the throne amongst the gods.
Yeah.
And, just even apotheosis, if you don't know, means,
becoming God. Yeah.
Becoming God. And so, I would be surprised if there were not some sort of equal ritual within the monarchy, within the UK system. If it's not lying in state, then, who else are you going to apotheosisize if not the Queen, who's been the Queen for 70 some odd years?
70 years. And
so this might be some sort of living ritual of apotheosis, and the green goddess is a thing, and she's green, and lots of people think that she is, if not sort of in the Eastern, like in the Eastern tradition where the monarch is actually related to God, certainly chosen by
keeping the tone.
Privileged of keeping the tone. So I could see it as some sort of living apotheosis ritual.
And Hecate, the goddess, where that we arrived at with this rabbit trail, she holds the keys. She's a key holder. Very interesting. I mean, the Bible talks about angels that come down and open the abyss with the keys to the abyss. So I don't know. There's just something interesting to it.
Also another connection. There's her being the green. What's her name again? What's the green goddess's name? Hecate, but there is something else.
Artemis.
The Artemis, yes, being the one that stands in the doorway.
Right.
Because as, the Queen is being presented here, she's standing in a doorway. Yeah. She is standing there being presented in a doorway wearing all green. So, yeah, very interesting. Good rabbit trail there.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, well, there you go. If anybody asks, that's what's going on. The Queen is representing the Wormwood, Absinthe, Artemis, Hecate goddess worship. That is the thing that I think most people need to realize too is goddess worship was huge in the ancient world. It was massive, and
it's making a comeback.
It's making a humongous comeback, and I think that's part of this whole feminism push and progressive and trans and all that stuff appears to be in the
divine feminine,
divine feminine. Yeah.